Good morning to our customers in Europe and the Middle East, and good afternoon to those in the Asian time zones. I'm Markus Mittendorf, Director Market Data Services at EEX, and I welcome you to our webinar. Thanks for taking the time. Today, we wish to introduce our revamped API service to you and help you with the first step for the corresponding mandatory migration. For that reason, let us look into the agenda, and I kindly ask our colleagues to switch the slide. So Daniel, our head of the business development team, will explain the why the new API service comes across, the migration timeline, and the enhanced feature list that will come with the new service. Then we will also say a few words how to onboard to the new service and do a live demo to complete the presentation. Then a Q&A session will follow, and you are happily invited to ask any question you may have. And another colleague, Dorothea, will help then to select those questions that appear to be of mutual interest. In case your question will not be picked up, then we will answer that question bilaterally. Don't worry in that case. And we also will look into expanding our own FAQ document on the migration website. Before we finally start, let me also spend a couple of words on some housekeeping elements. Yes, we will record the webinar, and we will share the link as well as the link to the slides in the course of tomorrow. On the top of your screen, there will be there is a Q&A section, and as I said, you're invited then to ask any question that you have. And now, I think it's time to hand over to Daniel and then to start the introduction of our new API service. Thank you.
Good morning, welcome, good day. Also from my side, thank you, Markus, for the introduction. My name is Daniel Köhler. I'm Head of Business Development Information Services here at EEX. And I have the pleasure to tell you a little bit about our new revamped API. Maybe I start with when we actually started it. So about a year, 1.5 years ago, we sat down and thought about how to improve our market data and transparency API. We received a lot of customer feedback from the version 1 of the API, and together we thought about how we can improve it, and basically this is the outcome is something I would like to present to you today. And one of the key pillars of the new API, the revamped API, is that we thought about how can we make everything better. So basically, we started from scratch. We throw away everything what we had before, and basically put everything into the cloud. That by itself, it's nothing new. Everything and everyone is nowadays in the cloud, but what it gives us is a scalability. So with the new API, depending on the demand of clients, of requests, and the things like this, we are able to scale the second version of the API. So things like slow performance shouldn't be an issue anymore going forward. We also thought about how can we make everything a little bit more faster, more efficient. Hence, wherever we could, we connected right to the source systems, the trading systems, the reference data systems. Try to minimize the data streams in a way that it's more efficient and faster for the client as well. And We also thought about how can we make the various API calls more efficient and also again faster, always keeping in mind how we can achieve good performance and good scalability, and more importantly as well for many customers, stability. So we structured the API and the endpoint and the dedicated calls in a way that allows clients to retrieve, I would say, huge chunks of data, but also possible to retrieve small amount, very precise amount of data. So this gives clients a very good flexibility of using the API. At the same time, we making sure that how everything is designed and structured supports the key pillars of performance and scalability and stability for our clients, and of course for all clients at the same time. Next slide, please. A little bit on the migration part. You see the timeline here on the screen. We are already at the second milestone, which is the first webinar. The first milestone obviously was the announcement to our clients end of January. We're going to have 2 more webinars to really help you to explain the new API and also explain open questions, help you with the onboarding and so on. There are 2 really important milestones. One is by the end of March, we will stop integrating new trading products into the version 1 of the API. So this is very important to avoid additional workload on our side and also additional workload on client side, to really at a certain point in time to focus on the version 2 of the API. That's very important. And the last and most important milestone, of course, is the decommission of the version 1 of the API at the end of June this year. We know that's not far off for some clients. That's why we're doing these webinars. That's why we open up the conversation to you, and also have organized ourselves in a way that we can support each and every client to really help with the onboarding and answer any questions as soon as possible, and encourage you to migrate to the new API as soon as possible. Because I said it, or tried to say it in the slide before, we firmly believe that the new API is much better solution than the version 1 of the API, and all clients will benefit from migrating to the newer version as soon as possible. Next slide, please. So what is actually new with the API? What we did is, of course, providing access to EEX Market Data. In that sense, you have access to reference data, to the full reference data, to the top of book data, to trade data, to settlement price data and statistics. The same goes for the indices. We provide the full product lineup of our EEX indices, and we provide transparency data. Here also the reference data, the urgent market messages, time series, and all that for production, storage, and consumption on our transparency platform. And of course, this all the aim is to provide this with real-time access. I mentioned it earlier, we connected right to the source systems wherever we could. And this provides clients real-time access to our API. One remark on that, of course, it's a REST API, meaning there's, depending on the data set you request, or your connection or your system, there will always be a small delay depending on that, because the nature of the REST API is you ask for something and you get something back, and that will certainly create a small delay, but in a sense, it's still real time. Another big improvement of the version 2 of the API is the visibility of spreads. That is true for gas spot and also for derivatives. In the old version, it was a little bit hidden and a little bit cumbersome to really identify the spread trades. And now it's a very clear display of how trades and spread trades in particular look. You can clearly, when you look up the trades and the spread trades, clearly see which is which and what belongs to what. And that is true for time series spreads, for inter-product spreads, and also for inter-commodity spreads. Then also a request from clients over the last couple of months and years is the clear change monitoring. So whenever we change a price, whether it's a trade price, whether it's a settlement price or index price, now we make it very clear that a certain data set is changed or deleted in the case of mistrade. So clients can really follow up and monitor these changes. And it's now very clear what happened on the trading side, and also for the transparency data, of course. Next slide, please. I'm gonna skip the high performance and cloud-based infrastructure. I talked about it in the third slide. So everything is in the cloud, but that's what I already said. More importantly is also, not more importantly, but importantly is that we provide right from the start 5 years of historical data at least. Yeah, for the market data part, data goes back until November 2020, and for the transparency data, even up until January 2019. So I think there's also a big incentive to switch as soon as possible to the version 2 of the API, because you do not have to fear that you're missing some kind of data, that you need to use both in a certain way. We really made sure that everything is there right from the start in the same structure and format. And another key point is that we introduced a user self-management service. This is something I can show you in a bit. Basically, what it means, you can create your own API keys. You don't need us to do it. So you're really able to work mainly on your own, and don't need to wait for any feedback from us on this side. All right, then the next slide, please. And something we really put much effort into is the documentation of the new API, which follows an open API standard 3.0. This is also something I can show in a little bit. But in a nutshell, we really created extensive documentation. We have a API user guide that helps you with the onboarding. It helps you with how to use the API, but the machine readable documentation in form of YAML files that follows the Open API standard really helps you to understand and integrate with the new API in a seamless and fast way, because we really described every field. We gave example outputs to really understand the new API and help you with a smoother transition on that regard. Next slide, please. And now I do a little demo. Usually you shouldn't do that on a live presentation. So if everything goes wrong, joke's on me, but I'm confident that I will manage. So I will share my screen. Oh, maybe someone from the team tells me if my screen is visible.
It's visible.
It's visible. Thank you, Markus. So the onboarding. Everything starts with everything starts with in our web shop. You, as normal, as before, you order your products via our EEX web shop. If you already have your products with us, then you don't need to worry. We already migrated you, and where you start onboarding on the API is on our DataSource hub page, where we really explain everything in detail. You get access to the migration FAQ, you get access to the user guide, you get access to the specification, you get contact details and so on. So everything you need to get you started and to help you with the onboarding. I think the user guide was already mentioned out with the communication, but in case you still want it, you can have it here. So how would you actually onboard, create your keys, and get yourself familiar with the API? It's something I will show you right away. You start with the login on the top right corner, and then you will be asked to authenticate yourself against our page here. In case you have an Azure B2C account, you can sign in right away. Use your credentials you already use, and then you're good to go. If not, you need to sign up. You need to fill in your email address, your details, your password, and so on. But it is not what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna sign in, and it takes a little bit. So, and then depending how you set it up, you either get a key, a login key to your email address, or in my case, that's why I'm looking at my mobile phone. You use the app from Microsoft in this case. Takes a little bit, and it throws me an error. So like I said, jokes are now on me, but usually you would be able to log in on that page. Let me go back and try again. Maybe I missed. Oh, It's now a wrong error for me. So we're gonna skip that part for later. I actually wanted to show you how to create an API key. It's displayed and described in the user guide. It's fairly simple. Once you are able to log in, you are able to also click on this part of the page, click on create API key, and you're good to go. So what else can I show you here is the API documentation I mentioned earlier. It's loading for me. And again, throws me an error. So that is not a good start. Okay, then I have a workaround for this. It's not the best way to show it, but it's also a way to show it. Going back to the API documentation, I wanted to show you this. What you see right now is basically the documentation for the derivatives API. So it's the same you would see on the page. That's not working for me this morning, but I want to show you that how we structure the API and how it's documented. You see that we display here all the possible endpoints. So very important, all the endpoints you see here are working. If you only type in the URL of the API and only RD, then it's not working. Yeah, you really need to stick to the endpoints here. And as you see, there are various endpoints for derivatives, reference data for trades, for trade series, for top of book, statistics, settlements, and also detailed description. The descriptions of the fields and the descriptions of the endpoints you can find directly in the file. So on the right-hand side, you see more like a visible representation. On the left-hand side, you see the technical documentation. So every endpoint is displayed and described, and every field is also described. So what a field is supposed to mean, what is the format, and so on. And if you're really starting out, then you have the possibility to use this. It's probably not working on this side, but on the hub page, you would be able to authorize yourself on this page. And then you could try out the various endpoints before actually using the API. So this already gives you a good sense what the output would be, but you could also in this case look here how reference data for derivatives would look like, or how data for trade data for derivatives, also how the output would look like. So that's that. Sorry for the hiccups with the our landing page. It was working yesterday evening, not working this morning. I'm sorry about this. Looking a little bit at the time, I think I still have a couple more minutes, and maybe can answer you some questions we already received after our communication, and also show you the new API hands-on. For this, I use a free tool, which is called Postman, but you can use any other tool if you like. You probably have your own API application in your company, but this is just for demonstration purposes to give you a sense of the API. To start, one of the questions we already received was how can I access the products that I have? And for this, the API is built in a way that you can discover the available data to you via the API itself, and particularly via the reference endpoints of the API. So, and that is also what we see here. If I query for the reference data derivatives, for this endpoint, I get a result of all the commodities I'm entitled to. So if you're only entitled to, for example, power, then only power would show up here. This gives also you already in a sense what kind of products you can query for. So now I try power, and then I go the next step of the API query, and what I get now is all the areas I'm entitled to. So again, if you only have, for example, Germany or France or any other country, then only those countries would show up here. Yeah? So the question, how can I access the data, is also answered by what I'm entitled to. Yeah? So you already know by this what you can query. So I try now the German area, close to home, and the next step would be from when until when the data is available for Power Germany in this example. And you see, we start in November 2020 and it goes all the way back to today. So I could use any date from this list. Let's take the 15th. And again, the next question would be what contracts or instruments were available on the 15th of January this year. And again, this query gives me the result. You get for the German market quite a bit. So it starts with the for the day futures, and then goes to the month, quarter, and years, of course. And you see also the longer codes. The longer codes are the spread codes. You can query for those as well if you like. So do not spend too much time. I'm gonna finish that one. I go with the German base month future, and here it shows me all the available maturities. And then I can go to the maturities. It's then also maybe straightforward, and it shows me all the reference data for this contract and maturity. Here it starts with a future spread, so you get also the spread reference data, but also for the simple instrument reference data, the normal contract, so to say. So that is basically the basis of how you should start the API. Querying the reference endpoint to know what you're entitled to, what trade data is available, what instruments, what trade dates, what contracts, and maturities, and so on. And all the information you find here, you can reuse in the endpoints for trading settlements and so on. This is always something you should start with. Another question we already received is how to retrieve time series, for example. I do an example with derivative settlement prices. Again, I go with the German market for end of January. I can query exactly for those settlement prices. I get a list of all the settlement prices for the EEPM, independently of the maturity. Yeah, you see the different maturities. And Also, you could, if you like, query for a certain contract. That's what I'm going to do right now. Oh, the wrong call. So maybe I go back one step. So if I query for a certain trading day and only specify the area, I get all the settlement prices for that area. Yeah, so you get all the maturities, all the contracts, and also the options. So that's takes a little bit to retrieve the data, and you get all the data. But of course, we encourage you to be more specific. So really go into the details with defining the contract and also defining the maturity. What's the benefit for you? You get it real quick. You just saw it on the screen. It's much faster than querying everything. Of course, you can query everything, but of course, then you have to deal with it. It takes a little bit longer. But the question was how to retrieve a time series. Now you see I queried one settlement price for one contract, for one maturity for one trading day, but I can do that on a longer time period. Again, my favorite contract, the German base month contract for the March maturity. And I ask it the API to retrieve all the settlement prices from January 1st. Obviously, this was not a trading day, but it would then fall back to the 2nd of January and then until the end of January. And it would give me a list for this particular contract for all trading dates and all settlement prices. All right. I'm looking into our internal chat. Do I have a little bit more time? I saw that we are at half time already.
Yeah,
if not,
feel free to continue.
Okay, then I will continue. Another thing I mentioned early on that we are now displaying changes to prices a little bit more in detail. I'm trying to get a good example. I do that with an indexed data. Recently, we changed, or I had to change, or I had to update the price for the index calculation of the EEX. So, and this is how it will look like in the API going forward. You will have the original value, so to say, which has the update action new. That's always tells you that is a new value, and it will not change if we do not change anything. But if we change something, like in this scenario, the update action would show up as change in this case. In case of trades, in kind of mistrades or trade cancellations, delete would show up here. Again, all this specifics are explained in the user guide and also in the YAML documentation of the API. So what else? Maybe I can show you how spreads are displayed. I mentioned it earlier. We put in some efforts to make the spreads clearer and more visible in the output. For that, I have again an example for the German base contract. And here that is the simple instrument, the leg instrument in this case. So I get all the trades for a particular trading day for that day. So I see the simple instrument. Simple instrument means it's a normal trade instrument. It can also be a trade, a part of a spread trade. And if you encounter in the data instrument type future spread, then the legs will be displayed. So you get the information of the first and the second leg. In this case, it's the future spread. So basically, someone traded the February maturity against the March maturity. So you get that, and there are other combinations I mentioned before. We have the interproduct spread. So, for example, if you would trade a German power base month contract against the French counterpart, you would see it. Then you would see basically this in the API as well. Let me have a good example. So this is what I just mentioned, the German base month against the French base month. And you see the spread information of the trade itself. You see the trade ID, you see the price, and you see the legs. And if you would look for the trade ID, you would also see then the. Now I need to go back. Let's memorize the trade ID. Takes a little bit of time because I was not very specific in my query. Give me a second. So 4 was it? So I now search for the trade ID 40414, and I get the one leg. I get that's not the right one. I get the other leg, and I should get the spread trades somewhere as well. It's not looking like, not searching like I did, but that's the way you would do it. You basically can query the simple instrument, the 4-digit short codes, or you can query for the 8-digit spread codes, and then you would see that they all have the same trade ID, and then you can link it back together. One important thing maybe when it comes to spread, that to see the full picture of the spread, you need to be entitled for the whole picture, so to say. That's in my example, you would need to be entitled for the German market. You would need to be entitled for the French market to see basically the one leg, the other leg, and the spread. And if, for example, you only have the German market, you would see the German leg, you would see the spread trade, but you wouldn't see, or you wouldn't be able to query for the French market. So this is something to keep in mind when you're querying for spread trades. All right, that's for me for the time being. I would say we hand over to the Q&A session.
So yes, I would take over then. We received a couple of questions. I'm not so sure if we will manage to answer all, but as we said, we will be happy to answer your questions bilaterally afterwards. First question that I can maybe answer myself is, will the webinar be a series or 3 times the same webinar? So it is, we have 3 sessions in the whole. but the first two are quite similar. So the second webinar will be matching the presentation you see right now. Of course, the Q&A part might differ. And there is a third session that is only dedicated to answer frequently asked questions without a presentation. Maybe including a live session, a live presentation or demonstration, depending on what we collect of answers until that point. Okay, then I would switch over to two onboarding questions. So Annika, I would like to hand over to you. The first question is, do we have to create a new account on top of the account on the web shop?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, happy to take this. Yes, indeed. This is necessary for getting access to the API. As Daniel showed already, it's important to follow the link to the hub. And if you click on the login button, you will see the screen to sign up or to sign in, depending if you already have an account. It's a single sign-on account for all Deutsche Börse services. That means it's necessary to get access to the data. So please sign up with the same email address you're using in your webshop account, and then it should work.
Thank you very much. And the next question to you, and the last question to you, I can see, is must the email address from the webshop account match the email address for the hub account?
Yes, I said it. This is important, so it needs to match that you are actually authorized to create your API key and to access the data you ordered before. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, Annika. And the next questions are regarding technical questions, specifically due to the API. As we had a little technical issues, I would like to hand over to our colleague Miguel for showing maybe the YAML files again, so it makes it more obvious how it works, and start with the question how to get volumes from derivative API for power futures. SPR is just giving the settlement prices.
Yes, happy to take over here. Hello, everyone. My name is Miguel Steinert, and I will show you now the DataSource hub. For some reason, for Daniel, it did not work. However, I can confirm for me it works. So I might share my screen real quickly. Okay, yes, I requested it. So with a look on the time, I will make it a little bit quicker before I go to the actual question. So what Daniel actually wanted to show is that you can create the API keys here. As you can see, I already created 3. You can create up to 4, and you actually also see the expiry date here. This helps you to manage your API keys, and they are usually valid for 1 year. So what I actually wanted to show is when you go onto the API specification, you can choose which, let's say, specification you would like to see. In this case, our question was linked to the derivative sides. So I would quickly go over here. So first of all, this whole YAML files or the specification is intended to that developers and users actually see the technical documentation of the API, see which endpoints are available, and which values you can expect. Also, what you can see is that you can also download the YAML file, and you have the Open API standard linked here. So what it also makes, or what also a good feature is, what I kind of missed, is the preview function. Every endpoint you see, you can actually preview here to see, like, so to get a feeling before you actually program your software or your application. This really helps to understand the API even more. But for the question to how you actually can see the volume, the statistic endpoint is the way to go here. You can either use it for one specific area or for a shortcode, or even if you're interested in a specific instrument, so not on the product level only, then you can also add the maturity here. Yes, I think this answers the questions quite well. I've seen that there was another question in the chat for which might be linked to the YAML file. Or did I miss that?
Yes, it was. Please show how to get Nordic zonals. Example given free SBY intraday market prices.
Yes. Okay. So this is actually straightforward. The area for this is. Get the question again. The area for this is SE3, and then you basically enter the shortcode. So in this case, you would actually add the commodity power. Then you add the area SE3, and then you add the shortcode 3SBY here. I mean, it works for the statistic endpoint, but it also would work for the for all other endpoints. So like this, and yeah, like this. This would give you the desired result.
Thank you, Miguel. And as you are already presenting, I would like to hand over the question. Is there a way to determine that the settlement price determination is finished, or example given German power futures?
So as you can see here, we have these other fields for the settlement side. And if the price changes for a settlement, you would see this on the update action field. There would actually display a change. But I can overall answer that as soon as the settlement price is, like, let's say, available, we will display it.
Okay, thanks. And I think you already mentioned it, but is the Open API definition publicly available or fenced off?
I hope I get the question correct. So the Open API standard is publicly available. So as you can see, we also linked it. And then you get to the Open API specification. So this is linked to the, like, let's say, technical side, how Open API works as a standard. I hope I answered the question correctly.
It's the same way I would understand it.
Okay.
If not, then please answer the question again to the audience. So I have the next question. More from the source. Are limit order book data get calls available?
So we on the API, we have the top of book information available. That means the best ask side here. So we don't display like, let's say, a raw order book on this side.
I think we can hand over again to Daniel again. Okay, we have more general questions. I need to map API 1 to 2 and find matching API calls and tables. And is there anything that helps to guide? Example, I can see that emissions has moved from GetSpot to derivatives API as it uses the same platform.
Very valid question, and we thought about it or discussed it internally as well. The honest answer is there is no direct mapping. Why is there no direct mapping? Because the calls of version 1 and the calls of version 2 are so vastly different, and the idea how to how to retrieve data and also how certain fields look, make it not very feasible to really make a one-to-one mapping. Because you would end up with a huge list on the new side of the API that has no equivalent on the other side. That's why, again, we encourage you to use the specification Miguel showed you just a minute ago, to really use that as a basis to understand the new API, because everything is really detailedly described. So what is the settlement price? What is an index price? What is the volume? Where is it coming from? Stuff like this. I know that's a small hill you need to climb as a user, but in the end of the day, it will make the transition to the second version of the API a lot faster and smoother. And if you have still questions to find certain fields or certain informations in the new API, then please let us know. We are happy to jump on a call and explain it in more detail.
Okay, thank you very much. I also got the request, is it possible to address and call the data via Excel, or is a third-party tool like Postman mandatory?
You don't need Postman for this. I just used it because it's available to everyone, basically. If you have your own API application, then you can use that. You can use Postman. You can use anything there is. The only thing that is required that you need to be able to authenticate yourself with the API key. So a simple browser will not work, will not do it. So you need an application that supports real authentication, just like I showed you in Postman, or your own API application. And if you have one more thing, sorry.
Sorry.
If you have like a plugin for Excel that supports that as well, then of course it would also work. But this small piece of authentication needs to be there and available.
Okay, thanks. More general question, and I think important for most of our clients. Can we expect new version of API will have less erroneous prices, like discrepancy, between API and SFTP or data alerts we get from EEX?
Yes. No, in all seriousness. When we announced the API 2 weeks ago, we were very confident that it's definitely better than the version 1 of the API, because we had a couple of months or at least weeks to compare version 1 and version 2. We would see how version 1 would behave in certain situations and how version 2 would behave. And that's why a very confident yes, it will result in better quality and less errors for clients going forward. Also an incentive to switch to the version 2 of the API as soon as possible.
That sounds good. And we have another question. How to get the event planned outage data in this new API? I was using the old API with the following API.
It's regarding transparency data?
Yes, and it is very linked to, will there be a session where live demo of the transparency API is covered as well?
Yes, this is something we planned for the second webinar. Now the focus was very much on the market data side of things, but obviously transparency data plays a big role. It's structured in its own way, and we do that in the second webinar.
Okay, thank you very much. I will have a look if we have another question. No, it doesn't seem to be the case. Yeah. Do we have any document where we can compare the API codes from version 2 with version 1? I think that is very similar to the one that you have already answered.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if there are not any more questions, I think we have 4 minutes left. I would ask Marcus again.
So thanks to the colleagues for presenting our new API. Maybe just as a quick recap in the last couple of minutes. So you should be aware of that we will introduce new trading products by the end of March. Then everyone should make up his or her mind whether it would be good then to have completed the migration to the second version of the API, or if there is still a little bit of more time in case you're looking into different trading products. So this is important for the timeline. The second version of the API comes with a number of additional features with respect to tracking of settlement price changes, trade price changes, and things like that. Yes, you have to use your email address that you use for the webshop registration, also for doing the onboarding things for the second version of the API. And then going forward, we will, and this is what we also learned from the session today, we will put some focus in answering additional questions that we couldn't pick up today. We will share the link of the webinar. We will share the link of the slides with you. Also, then draw your attention to the expanded FAQ document. And then going forward, I also draw your attention to this third webinar, which will be a dedicated Q&A webinar. As I learned today, it's also good then to prepare ourselves for additional live sessions. And with that, actually, I would like to conclude the webinar for today. So thanks again for your participation, and feel free to ask us any additional questions that you may have while onboarding, while migrating from version 1 to version 2. And at the end of the presentation, and you will also see that in the slide deck, there are a number of links, there are a number of contact options. So again, please feel free then to consult either the materials or to reach out to us directly. So thanks so much again, and have a great day. Bye-bye.